And his mind control tonight at 11:05. Now on 4, How Now, Mine How.
I'm on a remote farm in the Orkneys, on a little hillock called Mine Howe. For years, there have been stories around here of tunnels under the roads and mysterious underground rooms, which have never been satisfactorily explained until about 6 months ago, when an extraordinary discovery was made. Acting on stories of a lost secret chamber, first found in 1946, a local farmer and his friends set out to rediscover it. What they found was extraordinary. A set of stairs made of stone disappearing into the earth and leading to a dark and secret chamber. A set of stairs leading into a hillock's unique, and now the whole archaeological world is agog. Everyone wants to know who built it and when and what it was put there for. There's some kind of platform here, a little landing. It really drops away like crazy now. Steps are really uneven and very slippy and irregular. And that's the last one. And then it drops. I can hardly see how far down it is. There we go. Oh, that's all right. Cool. Way up. God, that roof is so high. And it starts out quite wide and then goes up into this beehive shape with what appears to be a big flat stone right at the top. I've just realised that I'm talking in this really hushed tone. It's very windy out there and just very still here, and I feel slightly disorientated. I think it's probably the hairpin bend halfway up. So it's hard to work out precisely where I am in relation to the outside world, and it seems so still. And you can just hear the occasional drip, drip, drip of water. It's not an incredibly pleasant experience down here. Your imagination starts to tell you that some really blood-curdling things might have happened here. I know that's a bit daft, but certainly gets the old imagination going. I think I'm going to get out as quickly as I can. It's so steep. Julie, what is this place?
Well, we think it's Iron Age. It looks like it's been built in the Iron Age. The structure looks like that, but we're not sure yet.
What are we going to do with it?
Well, the first thing to do is get geophysics on it, preferably with radar, so we can see if there's any other holes round and about and see how vulnerable the structure is.
And when we've geophys, can we actually dig?
Yeah, I do hope so, because it's a very exciting site.
Mine Howe is indeed an exciting find, but this is Orkney. There's a saying in these parts, scratch the surface of Orkney and it'll bleed archaeology. It's everywhere, from the Neolithic standing stones and chamber tombs to the brochs, the fortified houses of the Iron Age. The mound at Mine Howe itself is surrounded by other hillocks and known features, including a broch and a graveyard. Time Team are going to spend the next 4 weeks helping the archaeologists find out what it is. The chamber needs to be made safe for visitors because the owner of the farm, Douglas Patterson, has decided to open it to the public in the hope that the archaeology will draw the crowds.
No, they should book now because we have a lot of bookings coming in and they should book and then that will be the first in.
So the more we can find out, the better his chances. First on the scene is John Gator.
I think we should get John Gator fired up and get going. Sooner the better.
I've only just arrived.
Oh well. I promise you,
I'm not dressed.
I'll black the scene tonight.
Right, I'm off for my kit.
That must be tempting. That must be tempting.
It's not long before John shows some amazing results to the Orkney Archaeological Trust, who are going to be excavating the site. There seems to be a massive ditch surrounding the chamber.
Wow! That's incredible.
Those are 20-metre squares on now to give you an idea of the scale.
Yeah. That's about, what, 50 metres across?
50 metres across. A clear sort of entrance.
Looks like a henge
There.
ditch, doesn't it?
Well, it's exactly what I thought. I mean, there's
Good heavens.
the ditch going round.
Mm-hmm.
You can see the lack of responses inside, apart from there. But at these points here at the
Twin
entrance,
Peaks.
it really is
Yeah.
a lot of strong anomalies. But we're also getting strong anomalies on that side. What Iron Age sites do you get, apart from Brock's, with big ditches around like that, though?
Well, we haven't seen them yet.
Could it be that even if it's not a henge, we're dealing with a Neolithic monument that's been used at a later
Well,
date?
yes, because when we first looked down the hole or started thinking about that, we were thinking, is it some kind of chambered tomb, albeit rather an odd one, that, has then later been accessed by the staircase? Because, of course, we don't really find staircases in the Neolithic, so we were thinking, well, is it a combination of a later Iron Age use of a chambered tomb?
Because of the 1946 excavation, we can't expect to find out much from the chambers themselves.
If this was all cleaned out in 1946, is there any point looking at it again?
Well, it was very nearly cleaned out. There are little bits in some of the corners, so we're going to have a little look in the lower of the two side cells, see if there's anything left there. But what's really important is to find out why the structure's there at all.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
so we're going to have to look at the outside and see what turns up out of that. Well, what we thought we would do is cut a trench across the ditch here.
Yeah.
And we're also going to do a ditch section across the outside of this terminal,
Yeah.
presuming that this is a terminal, out onto the supposed settlement
Because this is
area
very
on the other
noisy
side.
here, isn't
Yeah.
it?
And
But,
do a big area on the settlement,
Yeah.
see if we can get any plans out, see if we can characterise it.
Yeah.
So the three trenches will look like this. Trench 1 across the back of the ditch, Trench 2 to look at the ends of the ditch and entranceway across it, and Trench 3 to investigate the possible settlement area. So as the excavation starts, everyone's excited as to what this seemingly unique monument could be and what the trenches will reveal.
First find of the dig, piece of Iron Age pot. There is stuff here.
But if the monument's Neolithic, we'd expect Neolithic artefacts to come to light at the bottom of the ditch. We won't know this for some weeks. So Mick is off to look for other clues in the surrounding landscape, with leading Orkney authority Anna Ritchie.
Now there's a name that certainly archaeologists know very well. Maze Howe, one of the great shrines, I always think.
From the outside, Maze Howe looks like our site, a great mound surrounded by a ditch. But it is in fact a Neolithic chamber tomb broken into from the top early in its history, probably before the Iron Age.
Oh, wow. I was impressed last time I came, but it's fantastic, isn't it? It really is good.
The roof, of course, is modern,
Yeah.
the white part.
You've got this Neolithic tomb with these beautifully made burial chambers off on each side.
All that's missing, unfortunately, are the original burials.
Yeah.
The standard of building here is really incredibly high when you think that it's 4,500 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, apart from getting these huge slabs here, if you look at them closely, they've chosen slabs where the fracture, the stone fractures naturally at a slight angle.
Yeah.
And they've set them one above the other, so that although the wall looks smooth and vertical, it's actually beginning to curve in slightly. People coming to Orkney in the very beginning realised quickly just what they could do with the sandstone and the flagstones.
So there's similarities with Mine Howe, but the quality of the building is very different. Our chamber doesn't look Neolithic. Back at the site, the settlement area, Trench 3, has revealed a lovely little gem, a small enamel button.
That's an amazing little thing. That's lovely. Turn it over.
Looks like enamel or something in
It
the,
does, yeah.
in the compartments. On that side.
Yes, these paler bits here. Everything that we're finding here is being sort of put together as one context. But
Yeah.
it is Iron Age stuff that's coming out of this quite disturbed layer.
But at Trench 1, where the promised ditch should be, there's only prehistoric crazy paving. Jane calls John Gator to account.
I was just wondering whether rather than a ditch, you know, the kind of reading you're getting could be the difference between this kind of compacted stonework and where it drops off into more sort of perhaps middeny or less stony material. I mean, is that possible at all?
No, there's got to be a ditch here. There's got to be a substantial ditch. I'll eat my hat otherwise. there just has to be.
Yeah?
Well, it showed on the radar, didn't it?
It's on the radar, quite a clear profile.
I
with
think-
the suggestion of a revetment on the inside and possibly another concentration on the outside.
The original 1946 excavation only dug out the chamber, ignoring the mound around it. Sandy Firth was a boy at the time.
Was it jam-packed full of rubble, the whole thing?
Yes, there's an awful lot of kitchen midden among it, as I remember. You know, shells, compacted, and was fairly gooey, a lot of it, mixed in with stones, rubble, but a lot of shells and bones, bits and pieces of bones. But the experts, when they looked at this Howe here, told us that it was the remains of a very badly degraded broch, that is of no significance whatsoever.
If it was a degraded broch, what clues would be left in the mound and surrounding area? Mick and Anna head off to one of the best preserved brochs in Orkney at Gurness, built around 2,000 years ago in the middle of the Iron Age.
This great stone building, we call them brochs,
Yeah.
and they're unique to Scotland. And they seem to be sort of fortified farmsteads.
So does that mean that we're looking at a much more warlike, aggressive sort of society?
I think so. It may just be that the evidence is so obvious in the form of the stone tower.
Yeah.
It's like a fortified farmstead, really like a medieval castle, with a village outside and the lord living in the broch and the peasants round about.
I mean, is this the sort of thing that we might have on the top of the hill at Mine Howe?
Well, you see, if you look at the village, that could explain all the anomalies, or some of them, on the geophysics at Mine Howe.
But all these buildings with hearths round the bottom.
Little domestic houses and yards and
Yeah.
places for animals. But what we don't have at Mine Howe is this enormous defensive structure.
Right. Could that have been removed? You know, robbed out, the stone taken away and...
I believe it could,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
I mean, we couldn't prove it, obviously, unless we get some sort of foundation
Yeah, yeah,
of a really wide wall.
yeah.
But the feature that I really wanted you to see here, and which I
Right.
think is the essential link with Mine Howe,
Yeah.
is the well.
Oh, yes, I
down
noticed
there.
that on the way in, yeah.
Well, it's not just a well, it's something more than that. You come and see.
A set of narrow steps runs down into the dark chamber below.
Oh, wow, look at that. God.
It's not a spring. I think it must just seep out of the rock.
And this is the natural rock here.
Well, they had to dig a big pit, you see, first of all. And from there down, it's solid rock. But the rest of the structure was just sort of built inside the pit. And you see, that's what they must have done at Howe.
Yeah.
They must have dug a big shaft first and then put the masonry in.
Built the structure inside it, yeah.
As well as that side chamber halfway down, there's also a hidden chamber. It's very deep and very narrow, that an adult could only stand upright in it.
Right, yeah.
So I thought, well, if you had someone standing there, the tread's put back into position, nobody knows he's there but the priest, and you get this ghostly voice coming out of the bowels of the earth.
If you came down for a glass of water in the night, it's a scary death.
Certainly would, yes.
But the Howe chamber is much bigger and deeper than the well at Gurness. Will it prove to be just part of a broch or an ancient complex with a purpose shrouded in mystery?
The PC World Sale is on now, and we're driving prices down, right across the store. PC World.
Let the step-by-step art course show you how to be an artist, from drawing basic outlines to simple shading techniques in easy-to-follow stages. Plus, get this superb art box free with issue 1. Issue by issue, build a complete set of art materials. The step-by-step art course brings out the artist in you.
While other stores have sales, B&Q have got low prices all the time. This dehumidifier gets rid of condensation, and it's only £99. We've got low prices permanently.
Fly EasyJet Direct, Edinburgh to Amsterdam from only £27.50. Book now, easyjet.com.
Step into 5 floors of Glasgow's biggest displays of classic and modern furniture. The MacDonald Furnishing Sale, opposite Buchanan Galleries.
At Trench 1, there's been a major breakthrough. John Gator's reputation remains intact.
What's this?
This?
What's this?
This is the long-lost ditch.
It's finally started to appear.
We're having a definite cut along the side
Yeah,
that's really
yeah.
going down. And if you have a look in the section over here, you can see the got definite tip lines, rubble and stuff,
Well,
sliding down.
There's no disputing that.
No.
Over on the other side of the mound, walls are beginning to appear in the trenches. And Nick Card is showing Phil what the farmer found down in the chamber.
This is what Douglas found when he was re-excavating it, when he opened it up. This was lying in the middle chamber.
The middle one?
The little side chamber.
And it's dog?
Definitely dog.
This is where you go into the realms of ritual activities again, isn't it, eh?
Again.
Deep in the mound, Julie and Jane are taking samples from one of the 2 mysterious side chambers where the dog skull was found.
The dog didn't get in there and die by itself without the rest of its body. So it was the skull or the head or whatever was put in that, to a small side chamber in a very funny place, just at the entrance.
It's not actually very long, but it's just a very tight fit. It's a nicely finished little passageway or space, which has, really good stonework and a nice flat roof with flat stone lintels across it.
Above, in the upper chamber, there are some deposits of peat ash. In the lower of the 2 side chambers, Jane's found a few deposits missed by the original excavations. They're pottery, and they look like they're Iron Age.
Swap it for the tag, they are. It's a really Nice shiny one.
But such fragmentary evidence gives us little clue as to the chamber's function. Mick and Stuart have taken to the air in search of further clues around Mine Howe itself.
You see here, Mick, can you see the road with the cemetery on the left-hand side of it? You can see where the excavation is. And the hut in the centre, that's Mine Howe. Can you see how to the left of the cemetery there's that big ridge curves round? That's one of the features which defines the natural amphitheatre.
So right round to the farm, in fact.
That is a very distinctive piece of landscape. And in the prehistoric period, distinctive pieces of landscape was known for other sites. Attract settlement, they attract religion, they attract burial. So there's no reason why all those aren't in that bit of landscape we're dealing with at Mine Howe.
Most of that, haven't we, for different periods?
Yes.
There's also settlement in the form of a broch just 200 yards away from Mine Howe. Stuart thinks that the Iron Age landscape would have been quite different. By looking at the 19-metre contour line, he's established that Mine Howe would have been surrounded by a very wet and boggy area.
So what you're left with is Mine Howe here, right in the centre of this promontory of land, very distinctive. What I think you're seeing is almost a very special piece of ground out here on the boundary between the land and the bog and the sea and so on. So as a place for a religious centre, this is actually a very, very good place.
But what about the broch?
Look on this photograph here. You see the broch very clearly, just there.
With the road right through the middle of it.
And again, the proximity of that's a fairly large broch. The proximity of Mine Howe to it, I think, in a way, argues against this being another broch.
Mick and Stuart head off to look at the site from the direction of the broch.
Well, if you look at the geophysical plot that John produced, which is quite staggering.
Which is what, that way round, isn't it?
There's the ditch. And the shaft, chamber, well, whatever it is in the centre there. So there's a ditch. You can see there's a quite clear gap there, which appears to be the entrance to this ditched enclosure. We're stood just about here. We're off this plot at the moment.
So there's a mass of lines coming down towards us then.
Heading straight towards the entrance of that ditched enclosure, which is just in front of where that tower is, up there.
So what you're saying then is this enclosure, which might turn out to be late Bronze Age or early Iron Age or whatever, was somehow orientated this way.
That's right.
With the approach to it and perhaps, I don't know, ceremonial walkway or something like that?
Well, that's right. I think the natural amphitheatre is the thing you see from the distance to guide you out here, as it were. Once you get on this higher ground to our left, you're then into this natural gully with the enclosure up behind it.
At Trench 1, the archaeologists are also concluding that this isn't a broch.
What was looking a bit like paving yesterday has now turned into these quite definite steps made out of these big blocks, which is certainly looking a lot more like they're building these blocks in steps to hold the kind of mound material back, do you think?
Yeah,
so
and I mean,
it's revetting.
That's right, and the sort of possible broch wall theory's gone now, hasn't it?
Yeah, yes, I think so, because we're definitely not seeing any kind of tumble and collapse that you get from a huge structure having stood here. So that makes it unique, because there are similar chambers, but they're always within brochs.
So if Mine Howe isn't one of Orkney's many brochs, then it's a one-off. But why is it surrounded by a ditch?
There's another possible explanation that this is a sanctified site, and that ditch around about it is the expression of that sanctity. And the shaft that's dug down here has that kind of purpose, a link with the underworld. It has a continuation of the sanctity, and in the Iron Age they live at the other end of the ridge down there.
Because I mean, one thing that the shaft here doesn't look like is a well, whereas the Guinness one, well, I mean, I think it probably had ritual activities going on there as well, but it certainly goes down to the water table.
But Mine Howe's chamber's dry, and if it doesn't look like a well, what does it look like? For the first time, Time Team have enlisted the help of a laser mapping team to scan the monument inside and out. In this way, we can see the relationship between the chambers and the rest of the mound. The result's amazing. A three-dimensional map of the underground chambers. To try to understand how Mine Howe was built, Time Team are going to build a scaled-down version. Phil and stonemason and archaeologist Joffy Hill have got the job.
Just like a ladder.
They're beautiful.
Up steps.
They really are.
Yes, the way they've constructed it is a bit strange all round. You know, there's lots of the different tricks they've used.
So this is the actual boulder clay then? The actual natural bedrock?
That's the side of their excavation to build the original chamber.
Wow, this is enormous in here. I never knew it was anything like this.
At the back here, behind the wall, I can see the boulder clay.
The boulder clay?
Yes.
So that gives us the exact dimensions of the shaft that they must have dug to actually put the stone structure in?
Yes, because you've got the boulder clay there behind you, and it's there behind that piece of masonry. I can see it through the holes between the stones.
Hey!
Perhaps this was the shape of the 9-metre deep pit they dug all those years ago.
You're actually now going back down into the bottom of the chamber.
Oh, that is quite a bit of a drop here then.
And I'm stood on the bottom step. So you've got to drop into it.
And then there's about, what, about a sort of 3-foot drop there then?
Yes.
Right down into the bottom.
Yeah. Why is there this big drop? Obviously you don't want access to the base. So you stop here. So something must be in there that you've come down to access.
I'm amazed at the size of this base here, because that is solid stone going on there.
Oh, yes.
Down there.
Oh, yes.
That is one big piece of stone. How the hell did they get it down there?
And it's...
Good Lord.
Yeah, about 9 inches thick,
yeah.
That bottom slab. A 9-inch thick slab, and it's just one...
It still carries on underneath there.
Yeah, it runs in underneath the wall, both sides, and right across under this side. And the weight of the building has actually cracked it in the middle. So it was one huge slab originally.
So work begins, in spite of the lack of Iron Age manpower.
Yeah, that's 2 meters, isn't it?
From now on, there's no machines, just ancient techniques. It's going to be a half-sized version of the main chamber, complete with drain in a hole to the side, cistern and steps, and capped with a corbelled roof.
So far, so good.
The ditch has now been found in Trench 2. This time, it's covered by later walls, which after careful recording must be removed if we're to reach the bottom of the ditch.
So what do the local people think of this area then, Tom?
Well, I think it's always been considered as somewhere a bit special and a bit unusual.
Yeah.
I mean, you have this thing here with this ditch around it, which might predate it. You've got a medieval chapel over there, and you've got the burial ground as well. So,
Yeah.
you know, it's still in use. But, I mean, people used to say that there was always things here. You know, there was always stories related
What
to
do you
these
mean
mounds.
things here?
Well, back in the old days, like when people believed in trows, which is the Orkney word for fairies, they used to have a few alehouses on the way out to Durness, and people used to have to stop and get tanked up before they could go past this place at night because they thought there was trows around.
So the spirits about it.
And then when they got down to Dingishowe in Durness, they would have to have a few more before they could go past that as well, because it was also believed to be an abode of trows. And there was actually a story about a fiddler that went into the mound at Dingishowe and played for a night for a trow, and when he came out, discovered he'd been away for 14 years. Everything had changed. Apart from him, he was exactly the same.
Is this not more to do with the local whiskey than anything else?
A bit of that probably as well, and a bit of the home brew.
Yeah.
Certainly not. It certainly heightened, I think, the attention.
With just a week to go, and frankly not much nearer solving the mystery of Mine Howe, we don't need the excuse of believing in fairies to sample the home brew and the whiskey. Perhaps it'll help.
It's a miracle! It's a miracle!
fantastic.
Glad you like it.
That's amazing.
You've been in the real one?
Yes, yeah.
And does it look like it?
It does.
Oh,
it does. It's incredible. Can I go down into it?
Yes, yes, down the steps. Watch the bottom one, of course. It's bigger than the rest.
Yeah, it's like the original.
Yeah, like the original. Well,
What's it actually telling you about the construction methods?
well, we were discussing this earlier on because when I originally designed this to be built, we were going to put scaffolding in for the roof. But we think, looking at the stonework in the original and looking at the way this is coming up, we're thinking it's being built from the top, literally standing on the wall and putting the stones on, rather than scaffolding up inside and building it from the front.
In Trench 2, they're almost 2 metres down, but no sign yet of the ditch bottom. But over in the settlement area, things are going rather more to plan.
Presumably what we're actually looking at is some sort of settlement remains, buildings and houses, with a lot of the rubbish and debris between.
Yes, and that's what we were hoping for in this area, which is rather nice that...
Because the geophysics was very noisy in this area,
and it
wasn't
sort of had these arcing sort of anomalies which looked like there could be wall lines. So, you know, we are getting what we hoped we would in this area.
And are the finds what you'd expect from domestic activity?
Well,
people cooking and eating.
We're getting a lot of pottery and bone, which we would expect, but we've also had some really special finds as well. Some really nice bronze pieces and also cut antler. So they've been working with antler and some whalebone. So it seems like seems like it's a kind of maybe a craft area, or where the debris from craft is being put.
Right.
Among all the finds coming out of Trench 3, there's good evidence of metalworking, supporting the view that this is a sacred site. Metalworking was often situated in special places away from villages.
Or whetstones, which are these sort of thin, narrow, square pebbles which have been used for sharpening knives and iron implements or something like that. They've just got one side worn down. And this bit of stone here is again quite an interesting piece of stone. At first it just looks like, you know, bit of broken stone. What's that doing here? And then you turn it over here and you find all of this bit is thermally altered. It's gone white because it's been in contact with great heat. I mean, this is fine metalwork, and this looks like some kind of bronze or copper alloy that's been left on the hot surface of a very large furnace. I mean, this is a big stone this was come off of.
Just a few hours later, in the same trench, Tom makes a crucial discovery. It's a mould for casting bronze. This means we've got smelting, manufacture and finishing of metalwork all in the same place.
Yep, lovely. Absolutely lovely. Wow. It's a mould. Yep.
And over at Trench 1, Carenza and Nick have revealed a strange structure dug into the hill.
Amazing.
What do you think of that, Julie?
Terrific. When did you make that?
Well, last night we came down and thought, we've got to make something that will look good.
Isn't it amazing? Just what we sort of thought it, because there was a dip in the ground, but you don't expect it actually to turn up like that. It's, you no idea what it might be?
Not a clue.
It's just so fascinating. You just want to extend and see how far these features do go around. I was just looking at one alcove. Could there be a whole series of alcoves all the way around the mound? It just makes you wonder what is here.
We just don't have time to excavate the whole mound, but a few hours more here reveals the clear shape of a little cell or platform. Like so much here, its purpose remains shrouded in mystery.
Oh, yes, that's a better fit.
How's that?
Oh, yes, that looks okay. He's pinning on both stones, so we're all right.
That is really... that is really coming in. If I had a plumb there, we must be...
Yes.
What, we're a couple of foot in, I think, aren't we?
Yes, we're coming in very quick now. A wall can corbel over its own width, right?
Right.
So if you've got a 2 foot thick wall, you can corbel over 2 foot and it's still stable.
Oh, I see.
You go over 2 foot 1 inch and the top becomes heavier than the bottom and over it goes.
Ah.
Of course, in the Neolithic, stonework was all they had.
Well, yeah.
So they took a lot of pride in it. By the time you get through to the Iron Age, all the top people
are smelting iron and making jewellery and all the other, you know, real...
Where do you want it? Underneath there?
Underneath there, yeah, I need to swap. I mean, that's one reason, maybe, why I would say that there's something odd going on with this chamber. If it's religious, they didn't seem to take very much care over the building of it for a religious building, because the other buildings that they built for specific purposes, like the Brocks, they are good masonry. So they can build good masonry, but they didn't build good masonry in here.
Over at the Fines hut, Niall Sharples examines the mould.
It's lovely. This is where the shaft of a spear would come in. So you have a long spear coming out there with a pointed end up that end. It comes in there, and then you have this sort of ribbing which attaches it to the spear, and then there's this big oval-shaped, doorknob-shaped modelling at the bottom, at the very base of the spear. And a very characteristic find of probably the later part of what we would call the Middle Iron Age, which would be about the 3rd or 4th century AD.
At Trench 2, we've now dug down 3 metres as far as it's safe to go, but we haven't reached the bottom, which could be another ½ metre below. But what we have revealed is amazing stone revetting holding up the ditch end. But when and why did it get to be filled in so completely?
As far as I can see, you're not dealing with a whole series of discrete dumps. You're looking at some major phases of dumping and filling in the ditch. But also the sides of it look so clean that it appears to have been kept very clean throughout its life when it was in use, and was probably cleaned out every few weeks, perhaps, judging by the cleanness of the car.
Do you think it's that big all the way around? Because the geophysics suggested that it was more enhanced here and at the back.
What Martin seems to be getting at the back,
It's not as big, is it?
it doesn't seem to be as big, and it seems to have a much more gentle profile, not this almost V-shaped profile which we seem to be getting here.
So it does seem perhaps like these ditches are a hugely impressive entranceway to the site.
Could the ditch be the key to the mystery of Mine Howe? That's the question that's captivated Professor Colin Richards.
You know, Nick, the thing, or one of the things which really puzzles me about this is, why is there such a huge ditch? If this was in a context of a brock, the ditch would instantly be seen to be defensive. It's not here, is it? But given the size and sort of depth of this thing, we've got to think, what is the significance of the thing that it's bounding? But why a ditch? Why not a fence or a stone wall? Why a ditch?
Hey! Whoa! What do you think you're doing, eh? Who do you think you are, the Silly Brothers? That car does not go on this stand. Yeah. Well, they're going to be dead chuffed when they see their car on the Skoda stand, aren't they? What a bunch of...
If we all take a minute to absorb this information.
Contrary to popular thinking, breaking wind is not only desirable, but some experts believe essential for the health of your colon. Men break wind on average 15 times a day, women just as often.
Thank you.
The new Discovery Health channel features surprising twists on every aspect of health, from embarrassing problems to alternative healing to the latest medical breakthroughs.
You coming?
I'll take the stairs.
New, on TV and online. Discovery Health. Have you caught it yet?
Get more than you expected. £10 gets you 4 hours internet access every month for a year. Liberty Surf, the internet liberated.
It's gotta go at Textile World. You gotta go to get great deals in the year-end clear-out. Save up to half price.
Greetings. Don't miss A Night with Ronnie Barker. Here he is, look. This Christmas on Channel 4.
With just a few days to go, Trench 2 has been extended to the top of the mound. We're still searching for the ditch bottom in Trench 1. Martin's still going down. But the reconstruction's going on a treat.
Is Phil up here? Yeah, he's in the hole.
I'm down a hole.
Where are you? Are you ready, Grail? Right.
It's a crucial moment, Tony. We're just about to put this
first
lintel across here. Right.
Yes. Okay.
Come a bit with me. That's better. That's better.
Yeah.
Did you cut this especially to size then?
No, all the stones here are natural as they come out of the ground. This is how they're quarried. Still a bit there, Grant.
Why don't they all collapse in at the top?
Well, gravity holds them in place. It's pretty stable. If you look at this, look. There's the stones here we are with the corbing coming in. And I'm now stood smack in the middle of the chamber.
And that stone is just held there by gravity?
Just stood here by gravity. It's just nothing, there's nothing holding it there except for each other stone. But I'm sailed out right into the middle of the chamber, and it's the weight of the other masonry behind that's holding it up.
As Martin's Trench gets deeper, an unusual find's made.
That's just come up now. A little broad.
Bloody hell. Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah.
Oh, a little round.
Yeah, fabulous.
That's amazing. So there'd been a polished stone or something in that little bit, and maybe there as well. It's incredible you actually see the clasps still, where the pin would have gone in and sat behind there.
Yeah.
It's astonishingly good condition.
What, you just drop him down?
Slowly though, slowly. We don't want it to fall right through.
Done it.
Oh, look at that.
Look at that.
You move it. Oh, yes, that's it.
It's pretty solid up here, isn't it?
Yes, it's solid now.
What's it look like inside?
Ah, right. Hard hats first.
Yeah.
Oh. Here we go. Hard hat, Tone.
Oh, come on, Phil.
Oh, yeah.
That is very good, isn't it? Well done, you.
Yes. I'm quite pleased with it because we built it from above, so we don't get to look at it while we're building it. So I'm quite pleased with it.
How long do you think it would have taken the people who built the original shaft to actually do the stonework on that?
Well, the actual stonework is at least twice as much. And they've got further to go down to get it in, so it would have taken them a good couple of weeks.
With a crew of how many?
Half a dozen people doing the building.
It's not much, is it?
No.
But then they've got to get all the stone from the quarry.
Yeah, there's 100 people bringing the stone to the site, and there's another 50 people who dug the hole.
Although they'd have got a lot of stone out of the hole.
Oh yes, a lot of the stone. We got stone here that come out of the hole, and an awful lot more stone that's behind that came out of the hole. At least half of the stone here came out of this hole.
At Trench 3, finds are still coming up from the settlement area.
Amazing, it's beautifully made. It's lovely you've got the point one end and the tooth still in the other end. And that one's the same.
That one's the same, but it's broken, unfortunately. And
they're just in the doorway?
Just lying together in the doorway.
So maybe we can imagine someone sitting there with a leather hide piercing holes in it so they could sew it together to make shoes or a cloak or something.
Just put them down, forgot about them maybe.
Someone lost their sewing kit?
I think so.
Just as the dig's winding down, Tom makes a crucial discovery at the top of the mound.
Got a chamber, well, I've got a void in here. It runs back quite a way. Filled up with silt. It looks
What's
quite
it got?
deep. We've got
Whatever's
a void
that?
running in here.
What do you think, Judge?
Oh, I don't know. It's exciting.
Do you want to go and have a look in there with the flash?
Frightening.
He looks really happy about it. He looks really glad.
We look really disturbed. Oh, wow.
What could it be?
Well, I suppose it could be a way down into this sort of other passage or chamber which seems to run through the mound. Well, we only saw that on the radar survey, but there is a possibility still that there are other chambers or passages within the mound. It does go right in, doesn't it?
We think we might have got a little passage.
Really?
Yeah. Well, there's no... it does widen out, though, doesn't it?
Could we have found the entranceway to another chamber? The excitement rises as we enlarge the trench around the void to reveal a large flat capping stone over the void.
Who's going to lift it?
I don't know that any one person's going to lift it. It's a biggish old lump of stone, but at least it's ready, isn't it? Yep. We just simply have not moved it. Well, you found it. Do you want to prise it up?
Tom, you're being very static.
Come on.
Come on, you take responsibility for it. Okay.
Wow! Oh, that is. Look at that. Of course, don't the crows.
Well, that was a surprise. Well, I thought it'd be nothing underneath, but that is quite a big hole, isn't it? And look, it's got stones all the way around there.
Judith's going kissed, kissed, kissed. I think that's what she's saying. What is a kist?
Well, a kist is a stone box, if you like, which usually contains cremation or sometimes inhumation.
Isn't that charcoal over there?
Yeah, it is. It's quite a really big lump.
So it's not another entranceway. But to the archaeologists, this evidence is worth the whole dig.
I think it definitely looks like a burial, and there's been a few flecks of burnt bone out of it. But what's making me very excited, and the rest of us excited, is that if it's an Iron Age burial.
Why would that be exciting?
Because it's just so little is known about what people did with their dead in the Iron Age. I mean, there's a lot of domestic activity, a lot of evidence of the way people lived, but not the way they treated people when they died. It's just almost completely absent.
And as the digging time finally runs out, Martin's found the bottom of his ditch section.
A lot of pottery out of that, a lot of really nice finds.
And this is right from
That's just
the floor.
right from the base.
Have we touched the bottom? Is that natural there?
Yep, that's it, just come up now.
And this is Iron Age?
Yeah.
That's helpful then, really,
Yeah,
isn't it?
very helpful, because a lot of people were wondering if maybe the structure had been, put in a place that had already had this ditch cut out in the Neolithic or the Bronze Age period, but that looks as if that's sort of showing us that it is Iron Age. I think we definitely, the paving on this side of the ditch definitely overlies the cut on that end of the ditch, so quite rapidly there's been quite a change in approach. They've thought to themselves that they're going to change what's happened here at the monument, change the look of it. So yeah, it's been quite a rapid change. We're going to build a ditch, and they decide, we're going to get rid of that ditch and we're going to build a big platform up there and do all sorts of other things up there.
The pottery from the bottom of Martin's ditch has finally given Niall Sharples the opportunity to date the active lifespan of the monument.
So you've got a longish period of occupation on the site, which begins in the early to middle Iron Age and continuing up to about 3rd, 4th century AD.
Even if we can't solve all the mysteries of Mine Howe, we now know what happened here over its 1,000 years of occupation. The last people to live here, probably around 500 AD in the so-called Pictish period, built themselves a clover-leaf house on the edge of the mound. 300 years or so before that, there was at least one Iron Age roundhouse where the metalworkers lived and worked. They'd arrived around 300 AD, and the mound would have looked like this. But the original structure, we're sure, is early Iron Age. It's gradually become clear to us that in addition to this magnificent Iron Age stepped chamber, we've got an equally magnificent Iron Age ditch that goes down, 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 much deeper than anyone thought it possibly could. And it goes all the way round the hill. And at the side here, you've got this very complicated revetting which marks the entranceway up towards the step chamber. Very wide, it goes from here all the way to here. So when it was first built, probably between 500 and 300 BC, this is what it looked like. We've spent so much time talking about how this was made and when it was made, but we haven't really got to the nub of the thing, which is what it was for, have we?
Well, I like the idea that it was a kind of ritual well. There's classical references to the Picts having these special places where they try to contact various spirits, whether it be the water spirits or whatever. And this, to me, you know, fulfills several functions. And it's a place where you can contact the water spirits, the underground spirits, and maybe the other world, the other side.
Well, I kind of go with the burial theory in a way, except I think, you know, we don't find Iron Age burials, which implies cremation. And now we've got these little bits of burning on the top, and the thing was full of ash. And I think it's maybe a repository for ash, not necessarily from burials, but from ceremonies associated with it.
Phil?
Well, I mean, I've been thinking about it, and I mean, it is just so well constructed. I can't believe that it is purely functional. I'm sure there's got to be something that you're actually going down into the ground. And so, yeah, I mean, I don't know, good old word ritual comes to mind, doesn't it? But I'm sure there's something more to it, particularly the way it's been built.
What's your theory?
You have to think, what did the Iron Age people, or rather, how did the Iron Age people understand the world they lived in? And the point there is that just like we're surrounded by vast amounts of archaeology, so the Iron Age people were as well.
What, they were surrounded by Stone Age archaeology?
They were, exactly, by Neolithic, like the passage graves, the standing stones, the big stone circles, which not only do they leave untouched, but they actually reuse, and they build brocks and so on right next to them. So they're obviously a significant part of their understanding of the world. And the more I thought about what this would actually look like back in the Iron Age, big mound encircled by a vast, deep ditch, and the thing which instantly springs to mind is something like Maze Howe, where you've got a large conical mound surrounded by a ditch. Of course, what Maze Howe may have been like in the Iron Age is a conical mound with a hole broken through in the top. And the more I thought about it, the more I wondered whether what you're seeing here is an Iron Age replication of something that was 2,000 years old to them, and they've replicated it in the way they understood it.
Why would they do that?
It's drawing on the imagery of something they already know and experience in the landscape.
A new series of Time Team starts on the 7th of January here on 4. Dig deeper into the Mine Howe mystery by visiting the Time Team website at channel4.com/next step. The Channel 4 book, Time Team's Time Chester, is now in shops, priced £16.99, or order your copy from the Channel 4 shop on 0870 1234 344.